Bitcoin just hit $90,000 ahead of FOMC. Trump is rumored to be announcing the next Fed chair, and we have a government shutdown on the horizon. In today's video, we'll be talking about all of this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, and taking you through some of my most recent trades in this market. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. First things first, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Everyone was getting extremely bearish when Bitcoin hit $86,000. We saw a lot of shorts pile into the market, and actually, it was a very, very good scalp longing opportunity. Since we hit those lows on Sunday, I became more short-term bullish. Now, from a higher time frame perspective, I am still bearish and holding my shorts from around $97,000. As you can see here, secured about 100K in profit and letting the rest of the position play out. On the shorter time frames, what happened with this Bitcoin long? You can see that we managed to tap into this crucial support level several times, confirming it as support and then getting a significant bounce. Right now, the rest of my trade is currently sitting just around $13,000 in profit. This was a much smaller trade than my previous trades. However, I did take some more profits right around $90,000. This was shared in my free community. Remember, if you want access to all of my own personal trades and you're ready to really trade the market this year, message me the keyword 2026 on Telegram after clicking this first link in the description down below, and I'd be happy to onboard you into my free premium group. Now, at this point in time, Bitcoin is around $90,000. This was always my base case from a shorter time frame perspective, but I still remain bearish. And in today's video, I also wanted to give you a little bit of insight as to why that is, how we do have a looming government shutdown, and we also need to consider the fact that FOMC is likely going to be a nothing burger once more. But before we get into that, the reason why I went ahead and went long at around $86,000 when we tapped into this level was quite clear. First and foremost, we tapped into this value area low since November of 2024. This is a massive range to consider. Then we had the biggest local liquidity zone where we wiped out a lot of longs in this market. Usually when Bitcoin forms this kind of price action that you can see over here, chop, 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 and then up, a lot of liquidity is built right below the price. And so it was always within my expectation that we would go ahead and tap into this liquidity. And this was a no-brainer high risk to reward long in this market, tapping into the value area low and also grabbing the downside liquidity. Now, if you've been watching my videos, part of the reason why I also went long was because there was way more shorts in the market compared to longs. And usually when this happens in a ranging environment, it makes sense to go ahead and liquidate a lot of those shorts. We saw tons of orders pile in between $89,000 to $90,000, but now on the day, more people are going long than short. However, on the 180-day time frame, you can see that there is still technically more cumulative short liquidation leverage in the market compared to cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market. So how do we proceed here? The Coinbase premium is still in deep red, and the price still got a little bit of a bounce. We also saw some outflows from the ETF yesterday, and we still got a little bit of a bounce. Now, today is a pretty big day because not only is it FOMC, there are rumors that Trump could be announcing the next Fed chair. The odds are currently favoring that Chief Investment Officer of BlackRock, Rick Ryder, could be the next Fed chair, and this would ultimately be bullish for asset prices. But we need to discuss the fact that there is also now likely going to be a government shutdown starting on Saturday. And the last time we had a government shutdown, you want to know what happened to Bitcoin? Well, it started on October 1st. We had a little bit of a push up, nice little pump from here up to the highs, which was actually the all-time high for Bitcoin, which was about a 6% move. But shortly after, from then on until the government shutdown ended, we essentially dropped from the high down to the low approximately 22%. Government shutdowns are not bullish for riskier asset classes like crypto. Can we get a little bit of a pump once the government shutdown is confirmed? Of course, that's a possibility. But shortly after, I would be expecting the downtrend for Bitcoin to unfortunately continue. Don't hate me, just look at the charts. This is what it would suggest. Now, precious metals could probably keep on climbing once we have that supposed government shutdown. Let's see what happens here, but my base case has been the same since Bitcoin touched $98,000. I shorted the market. I will maintain my big swing short position because ultimately at this point in time, it would not suggest that Bitcoin can climb all the way up to $97,000. But even if we do, my stop loss is at break even and I've secured 100K in profit. And in the immediate short term, I was vocal about longing Bitcoin. As you can see here, my entry was around $86,240. And as I shared previously in my Telegram community, I did take a little bit of profit, around 30%, once Bitcoin hit $90,000. Not bad for a quick scalp trade in this market. So let's see what happens. Something you need to also consider here in the immediate short term, Bitcoin still has a CME gap to the upside. We filled the most recent one around $89,000, and now we do have a CME gap all the way up to $93,000, which is actually my last take profit on my most recent Bitcoin scalp trade. Now, you have to understand that my stop loss is at break even, and I've already taken some profits on this scalp trade. So I essentially have no more risk on this trade. That's how you want to play the market. In the short term, yes, of course, we can get bounces, and I am more than happy to play those bounces. But in the more medium term here, I do think that Bitcoin will ultimately roll over. And actually, a perfect shorting entry, depending on the price action, of course, could be if Bitcoin does hit these levels right around $93,000 after filling the CME gap and ideally after the government shutdown. Let's say the government shuts down and Bitcoin does get a little bit of a push higher. This would be ideal if you're not already positioned in a swing short for Bitcoin. I warned you to not short Bitcoin when we came down to $89,000, $88,000. We already had a $10,000 move, and that's when most people, of course, tried to start shorting. You want to short when everyone is bullish and we're going right up into resistance, and you can clearly see on the liquidation heat maps that everyone has been longing. That's when I went short. Then when we moved down, I was very vocal about the fact that the risk to reward was simply not there to short Bitcoin. So let's see how the price action develops. Right now, we got that CME gap. If we can get another squeeze higher, ultimately, I would be very, very happy because yes, I'm still maintaining most of my Bitcoin long position with my stop loss at break even. This was the scalp. Now this one was also my long from the lows. Again, same exact concept. In this downtrend, everyone was extremely bearish when Bitcoin hit $80,000, calling for 70K, calling for 60K. And as a matter of fact, I do think that we will likely hit those numbers this year. However, from a risk to reward perspective, everyone was shorting and we tapped right into previous support. Therefore, that's when I went long right at the bottom. And you can see that this was actually one of my best trades from 2025, which I am still holding, and I'm still holding a little bit of that position, only a small portion of it. I secured most of the profits right around $94,000, longing Bitcoin from sub 83K. So this one also has my stop loss to break even. You'll notice a trend with my trades. I get into favorable positions, I take some profits on the way down if I'm shorting, or some profits on the way up if I'm longing, and I move my stop loss to break even. Ultimately, I've been a lot more aggressive with my Bitcoin shorts simply because as Bitcoin was climbing up and everyone was bullish, it made sense to go short because the overall trend in this market is still very much down. Zoom out, go to the weekly time frame. You can see that Bitcoin has dropped significantly, and ultimately I do think that we will be dropping more. Now, some of you have brought the argument of quantitative tightening. We talked about this a lot on the channel. Quantitative tightening versus quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is essentially just money printing. Quantitative tightening is when the Fed restricts their balance sheet. So what you want to notice here is that even in 2019, when we had a quantitative tightening bear market, well, the price still slowly dropped lower. So even though quantitative tightening did end, and that's confirmed, it doesn't mean that we're in quantitative easing, and so the drop can continue. This blue line was actually that 2019 style drop. So instead of just getting a massive aggressive drop lower, Bitcoin just slowly faded lower. Ultimately, I do think that this year we will be seeing Bitcoin sub $70,000, likely a wick to at the bare minimum sub $60,000. But as I said time and time again, I will be a buyer if this is to occur. So at this point in time, ideally you want the ETFs to start buying. You want to see the Coinbase premium turn positive. I mean, I'm very, very happy with my execution on this long. I mean, we basically got the perfect local bottom here, and this is when everyone was flipping extremely bearish. If you want to trade the market with me, or I should say, follow my own personal trades, you do have the first link in my description down below. DM me the keyword 2026, and I'd be happy to onboard you in my premium group. I do have to warn you though, I am not a financial advisor. If you haven't already, please read the disclaimer in the description down below. And something else I should warn you about. I'm also not a fortune teller. Yes, lately we have been absolutely printing. Shorts, longs, it simply doesn't matter. I'm making money in this market. But I will inevitably have some losses. That's just me being fully transparent with you. Anyone that claims that they win 90 or 100% of the time over an extended period of time is full of crap. Anyways, if you want to join and see how I'm trading the market, you do have that first link in the description down below. And also, I want to bring this to your attention. You know that Bluffin is my favorite exchange. They do have a fantastic promotion going on right now for new users. If you deposit $100, you can get a $10 futures bonus. If you deposit $1,000, you can get a $100 futures bonus. Also, there's trading rewards here. If you're already trading the market, you might as well join me on Bluffin with the second link in my description down below. And this will also give you access to my free Telegram community where I share all of my own personal trades. And that sums up today's quick video. More locally, when Bitcoin hit $86,000, I pulled the trigger on a long. Right now, I'm content with that position, although it's important for you to understand that my higher time frame bias is still bearish as I continue to hold my massive swing short in this market. In the next few days, make sure you pay attention to 1, FOMC. Will Jerome Powell come across as hawkish or dovish? Because we know that rates will likely stay exactly the same. Also, this weekend, pay attention to the government shutdown. Will it occur? If so, we can get a little bit of a pump, but my base case would be that we would likely roll over afterwards. And number 3, will Trump announce the next Fed chair? If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. As always, I have my Bluffin leverage trading tutorial right here, and I'll see you in the next video.